Spoiler alert, we're unpacking the whole plot, twist by twist. If you're spoiler sensitive, hit pause and come back when your TBR list catches up. Cheers!
Welcome to the podcast where our reading habits are unhinged.
And so are we.
I'm Gabby,
I'm Miranda.
and this is Marginally Unwell. Today, we are following the invisible life of Addie LaRue, a tale about a young woman who makes a bargain for freedom and immortality, only to live a life where no one remembers her. Packed with magic, clever twists, and centuries of adventure, this story reminds us that even the smallest moments can leave an everlasting mark.
It seems very fantastical.
It really does.
Right?
A lot more than I thought it was.
Yeah.
But sure. I guess in theory
Yeah.
it is, but
I think it gives it a lot more whimsy.
yeah.
Anyway, we'll get into that.
Okay, let's hop right into the question. What was your first impression of Addie, and how did your perception of her evolve throughout?
I think she stayed pretty consistent as a character, I would say. Just from, because she didn't want to follow her norm and she wanted to break out of, like, what was expected of her.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a running theme throughout the book, even in the ending, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I really liked her. I mean, I feel, if I were in her position, I'd feel the same way. I feel validated. So, I like that she stood her ground and wanted to go the path that she thought was best for her.
Yeah. I did like her. I will say in the beginning, I kind of thought she was a little annoying. I feel like she was a little bit whiny, and I was kind of like, oh, this girl. But then, obviously, she got a lot of life experience. And,
More than any regular person.
yeah, and so I feel like definitely liked her more towards, like, I feel like the first, like, quarter, I would say.
Yeah.
I liked her personality shift that a little bit more. But, yeah, the beginning, I was...
She was young in the beginning, though, right?
I mean, yeah, because she was still, like, mortal, and so she was, like, just coming of age to, like,
Yeah, she was
get married off
almost
and all that stuff.
thinking, like, late teens, early 20s.
Yeah. So, I mean, it tracks that I would be annoyed by that.
Yeah. The younger ones that...
Yeah. But overall, I thought her character development was a lot more palatable. Gotta get through that, huh? Yeah.
How did the curse of being forgotten shape Addie's personality and choices over the centuries?
Well, how could it not shape you? You're like literally. Honestly, it was sad. It was so sad to like read about because she's just like they're not gonna remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Like, she lost hope of, like, well, almost.
yeah.
She did fine.
And I feel like because then she was like really, really on her own, right? Because nobody remembered her. She had to. I think that's where, like, I was talking about, like, the character shift from like being annoying when you're like on your own. You're kind of just like
You're having to be scrappy and
Yeah.
resourceful.
And so I feel like that's probably why I liked her more after that. But it was really sad, especially like the one with her, I guess her friend that had like the baby.
Oh, yeah. Her childhood friend,
Yeah.
where she...
Yeah. And she was like trying to be there, and then she like walked out of the room. She like freaked out.
The friend was trying to help her because they found her at the river. Like, she was, like, running away from that guy.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, come in, I'll help you. And then she goes outside to talk to her husband and comes back in. She's like, who are you? What are you doing in my house with my son?
Yeah.
Or kid. I don't know if it's a son.
It also turned her into a criminal.
I was about to say, she turned her into, like, a little bit of a klepto.
Yeah.
I
Because she was
will
like, we're not
say-
going to remember.
Yeah, I will say she only took what she needed. Like, $20 here, like a staying the night.
Yeah. It wasn't like she just like became a bajillionaire and
Yeah.
like did whatever.
It also made me think how much you have to rely on somebody remembering.
Yeah, I know.
Because you couldn't get it, you wouldn't be able to get a bank account, you wouldn't be able to get into a lease. Like, you could sign up I guess.
But then they would be like, "Who are you?" Because then that happened
Yeah.
too. She was like, "Oh, at the hotel."
The hotel.
She tried to get the room, and then she like the next morning, the lady was, "What are you doing here? You never paid." Blah blah blah. And she was like, "Yeah, I did all the things." That was when she was still trying to like
figure it out.
navigate how to do it. So yeah, kind of wild to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like whenever you're talking about with strangers, like how much we have to rely on like the strangers remembering us because you can't do anything.
Imagine you're like ordering food and then they turn back to order it and then look back at you and be like, "How can I help you?"
Yeah,
it's fine.
Either so I can see how it'd be easier just to like take it and then because it'd be an easier situation to deal with. So that's funny. Henry is the first person to remember Addie. Why do you think he was different from everyone else she met?
Well, I felt like it was in the book was like there was obviously something going on there.
Yeah.
With that. Because after 300 years, he's the first person to remember her.
Yeah.
So, clue number one. So, I would say just because he remembered her, that's what made him different from everybody else. But I also found it, like, very cute that he remembered her because of a book. I was like, oh. And I love that he owned a bookstore with his sister, right? Or he owned it and his sister just used it. I don't remember, but exactly that dynamic of the bookstore. But
yeah, I think she kept going in there and like reading the books.
Because she was in college, right? She was like working on a thesis. His sister.
I don't remember. I know she was doing something in the theater.
Okay.
Or was that the other guy?
I think that was the guy. Anyway.
Maybe that is what it was. Maybe because she was in school and so she kept coming in and like she would read the books and he kept getting pissed off because he's like, it's not a library book.
And she's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And just sits there all day reading.
Yeah.
I feel like I would 100% do that if you owned a bookstore. I could use it as my personal.
Yeah. But then obviously we learned too that he is different because he also made a deal.
Yeah.
And so we end up finding that out, and basically because they're both in this like contract with the demon guy.
It was also interesting too because what he asked for specifically countered what her curse.
Yeah, it was like basically a loophole.
Yeah,
because the two of their like wishes or
whatever
you want to call it.
People kept leaving. For his perception was abandoning, or they found somebody that was better. So he wanted to be whatever the other person wanted, and she wanted what most to be remembered.
Yeah,
and so it was a loophole of his thing, which I thought was kind of coincidental, but also kind of very romantic in a way.
Yeah,
especially.
And then she also wasn't. He knew that how she felt was like actually real because she wasn't affected by
his charm.
Yeah. So. Yep.
So I thought that was cute and romantic in its own way.
Yeah.
So, which historical period in the setting of the book resonated with you the most, and why?
I think the very beginning, just because it made it easier to understand why she was like trying to run away. Like during that time, it was very much like traditional wives, and like you marry young, and like you do, and she didn't want any part of that. So I feel like that made it. Not saying that like I would do it, but it made it more understandable to like why she would make a crazy deal like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it impacted.
Mine is I like the period of the. I don't know if it's Art Deco, but whenever she's visiting all of the artists and stuff, and she starts leaving her mark through art history.
Yeah, that was cool.
I really like that she's obviously more. She likes the art and she wants to be a part of it, but I like how she was able to kind of get her own loophole of people like her being a muse versus, actually being there. And I like how it gives you a little trail throughout history of her story.
Yeah.
And I like, which I think that was what the sister did. That's what I was about to say.
Okay.
Yeah. Which the sister, she was writing a thesis of like, she was trying to figure it out. And she was also like into art and noticed that there is this mysterious woman all throughout history over different types of art. And art periods, and she's like, there's this mysterious woman that just keeps showing up. And then she's like, oh, she's catching on to me. But then, everyone would forget her.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool, and it made me really think of like the conspiracy theories of like a lot of celebrities, like William Shakespeare and Anne Hathaway. You know how she was like, she's actually from whenever Shakespeare was created, and it was actually her, and now it's her time, and so it just was like, ooh, spooky. So, but anyway, I liked that part of it.
How did Luke's presence influence your view of Addie's journey? Was he purely a villain or more complicated?
I think he was a little bit more complicated just because he found her intriguing. She didn't give in to what he wanted like everybody else, or didn't.
Yeah. Because she got to live, like, basically as long as she wanted. But then she had to, like, give in to him. Like, basically be like, okay, I'm, like, ready to go. And then he got her soul. And he thought that she would, like, crack voicing her. And then she lived centuries. She was like,
she really got you.
Yeah. I definitely think it was more complicated also because, like,
I think he admired her.
Well, and they both, like, they had a little bit of a like relationship thing, and so I think it was definitely more complicated than that.
I think so.
Also, I mean, he's like a demon who makes deals, right? Like she made the deal. It wasn't like
he didn't coerce her.
Yeah,
she asked
summoned him and then asked for the deal,
and then comes back around and is like, "Why did you do that?"
Yeah, like you asked for it. Actually, that's exactly what you wanted.
With a little bit of a twist. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's more complicated. I also think that it's more of a forced proximity, like enemies.
Well, yeah,
to friends, to enemy, like friendly kind of thing.
Because then, like, once she realized, like, the actual ramifications of her, like, deal or her wish or whatever, then it was like, well, he's basically the only one that she can have a relationship with.
Yeah.
And so it was a little bit like something developed there of like, even though she
hated him, but she enjoyed the company because she was deprived of conversation, like an actual person.
Which brought up some complexities of that relationship dynamic of like not actually liking that person, but being so lonely and like all that. Oh,
what role do Henry's friends play in showing his character and ability to connect with Addie? That's a little bit complicated. A lot of this is.
I just had something out of my head.
I think they're a little bit skewed because my first thought is, and correct me or help me through this thought, is that the theater friend, one that used to be his ex-boyfriend, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, is still his friend, but still has feelings for him. And I think he felt threatened of Addie's presence, obviously, during, like the dinner party or whatever. So I feel like it's a little bit complicated. They're all, like, really close to Henry, but because of his deal and, like, him wanting not to be forgotten or abandoned or anything, I feel like it's yes, they're his friends, but I also think it's heightened because of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's probably why he just basically has, like, that tighter knit group. But then it also kind of, like, reveals to me as well, like, it's not all it's, like, cracked up to be either, like, the other side of the coin. Basically because he's struggling with people, like, because he has the opposite issue that she has, essentially. People
remembering
like
him.
Yeah, they're like drawn to him, and he struggles with that because then he doesn't know, like, who, like, then he doesn't think, like, any of it is real.
Right.
And so then she, like, witnesses, like, him going through all that, too.
Yeah. I see. I would agree with that.
Did any scene in Addie's centuries-long life make you feel particularly emotional or reflective?
The scene that made me have the most feelings was the first time that Luke didn't show up to their annual meeting.
Yeah, that was.
I think that was,
Yeah,
for me being empathetic towards Addie, because they had such a such a complicated relationship, but he's the only one that she's able to connect with, and so him not showing up, like, then she truly had nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that finally hit her, and that he has more to take away from her than what she thought.
Like, yeah, he had more power because she was like, basically because she wasn't going to give in, and then she was doing the whole like art thing. Mm-hmm. So she felt like she was more like in control, but then like how much it affected her, she was actually like, yeah. That was a really sad part. That part, or the one that I already brought up with her friend. Oh, I'd be really sad if I like saw you.
Yeah, I'd be really sad. Yeah. I don't like the best friend thing.
I know. I can't ever. Whenever it's like a best friend this year, I'm like, and the best friend dies or something, and I'm like,
oh my gosh,
I can't take it.
I'm gonna side note this, but yeah, there is this book that I had read in college. It was the saddest freaking thing ever. It was a Kristen Hanna book, and it was about two best friends, and they were friends throughout their childhood into adulthood, and through like having children, and it was just, and you know how her books are. Oh my god, it stuck with me for so long, and then I think I just blacked it out, and then they ended up making a show out of it on Netflix, and I just refused to like watch it.
Is that the one that you sent me? That I was like, that's sad. The one with Jane Fonda.
No, that's a Madison. That's a Taylor Sheridan show.
Oh, okay.
It's Firefly Lane. Kristen Hanna. The one that I sent you is the Taylor. It's a show Taylor Sheridan wrote.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
That one was rough too, but it looked like they were there for each other during a hard time. The one that I sent you. The other ones, they were there for each other for a hard time, but yeah. Why are we talking about this?
I don't know. Because I brought up that was the saddest part of the.
Oh yes, okay. So it's your fault. How does the story explore things of identity and the need to be remembered?
Well, that's the whole theme.
It's like the whole book. There was another book that was very much about identity that we reviewed. Remember that? We were like having a conversation over what gives you an identity.
Uh-huh.
It's like actually knowing them, or
yeah, I don't remember.
She went on a walk. She didn't have her phone or her license.
Oh, that was my husband's wife.
Yes.
You're welcome. That's why I was like, I need some of the book to know.
That's why I was like,
yeah.
She got stuff at the top.
Yeah, it was that one.
Nobody said that she was who she was. Anyway, we've been on the theme of identity for a little bit now.
Yeah.
How does it explore themes of identity? I mean,
it's a little bit of loss of identity in both situations for her and for Henry, because they're not ever like fully. I guess again, it goes into like what we were talking about with the other one.
I think it also. Let me just bring this up too, because like they are who they are, but does it like to be remembered isn't necessarily your identity, right? Because you are who you are.
Sure, but I do think that your relationships help form your identity to some degree, and the perception of the other side of that relationship.
That is true, because as we mentioned, Addie became a thief,
right?
And Henry became closed off to affection, which is what he really wanted.
Yeah. But
And-
he did because he couldn't like trust it.
Yeah.
And so it did affect who he was. And then same with Addie. Like
He was on the other side of the coin. Instead
Right.
of like wanting affection, he's now trying to stay away from it. Because,
yeah. So I feel like you would think like off the like out the gate, you would think like Addie would have to have like a really solid identity because she's like alone.
right.
But even being alone like shapes your identity.
I think she becomes like, I thought of her as like a mysterious like woman, because like she kind of was known if people were paying attention, like at the very beginning whenever she was at whoever's apartment and she like was playing on the piano and like helped with that, whoever that was playing the guitar. It's like they were like started to make a tune and she's like, well, I have to go and whatever.
Yeah.
So I like how she kind of like left her mark.
Yeah.
And-
Because then they like was like I like remembered the song,
Yeah,
but not her.
right.
And then same thing with like the painting. They all were like painting her or like
A
creating
version
yeah,
of
their
her.
version of her.
Yeah.
But
So I think that formed a little bit of identity for her, but I don't know. That's difficult.
which side characters in Addie's life, even if brief, had the most impact on you as a reader?
Honestly, the best friend,
Yeah.
because everybody else in her life, she after that, she kind of like met on a whim and did leave her mark, but it wasn't as impactful because she didn't have that much of a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Versus before all of this happened, and then obviously the mother and like the father and whatever. But I don't know. I think it is kind of. I would say the best friend because you get that emotional connection.
That was like the biggest impact of like her not being remembered that we really got, because then it was like that was the point where I feel like she really like maybe not accepted it, but like she really saw how much this was gonna like affect her.
Yeah.
Because before that, I think she didn't really like think it through all the way.
Yeah, like it really impacted because I think she ran into the woods because I think she went to go visit her parents and her parents are like, we didn't have a child. We don't have a
Yeah.
child, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I think she was like taken aback by it, but then when it happened again with, like you were saying, her best friend, it like really resonated
Like
with
sunk
her.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, oh,
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
Back to back. Yeah, that was rough. The novel often shifts between centuries. Did this structure enhance the story or make it harder to follow?
I think it enhanced the story because it really showed how she adapted over all that time. Like, it wouldn't have made sense if we saw it like 300 years ago and then we just jumped to present day and not seeing that like evolution.
Yeah.
And like the relationship building between her and Luke.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't have seen that. Or like, again, her like finding a way to like leave her mark without being remembered, those kind of things.
How she was able to survive.
Well, and like, yeah, and all the different situations, like the hotel situation and like how she navigated not being remembered is crazy. So I feel like it gave a better understanding, and I didn't think it was harder to follow. I think it was better.
I do agree. I also liked how it was going then and now. And I liked that the then and now kind of went in a time. What is
In
this?
chronological order?
Thank you. In chronological order. What is this?
For those who are just listening, Miranda just basically moved her arm in front of her and said, what is this?
The timeline.
Right here.
Oh my gosh. I was envisioning a timeline.
I got you. How does the book handle love, romance, and human connection across time?
I think there's a lot of different kinds of love that was shown in this book, like the love she had for her parents, even though she was upset with them, the love she had with her best friend, the romance and complicated connection she had with Luke. And then the intrigue and human connection, obviously, with Henry. Like, that was very impactful for her. And she was also trying not to, like, pounce on him. Like, you know, she was obviously in shock. Like, he remembered me. And she, like, waited outside the shop until it was closed to, like, actually have a conversation with him. Like, she's like, I don't want to freak him out, and then him, like, not want to talk to me.
Yeah.
But she's also like, it's been 300 freaking years before anybody talked to anybody other than Luke. And
Yeah.
so, I liked how their connection kind of.
Yeah. Well, and it really, I feel like because of, like, all of the time passed and everything with the Addie situation, like, it really showed more about, like, true connection and not just, like, human connection in general. Because she had, like, she was, like, with people, you know, and whatever, but obviously then they didn't remember her. And then that is why, even though she hated Luke so much, that's why those feelings, like, developed. Because, like, she had human connection still.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, like, it was so surface level. And then same thing with, like, on Henry's side, because of him not knowing, like, it's real, then he really struggled and, like you said earlier, like, cut himself off, like, shut down. And so then he wasn't having those, like, true connections either until he met Addie, because he knew that she
would be affected.
Yeah.
And also, speaking of connections, and I don't think, maybe this is a little bit of a human connection, but remember she had that wooden ring from her father, and I think it became a totem to, like, call Luke, obviously, but also it became, like, a connection to her previous life and her family and what she, quote unquote, lost. So I think
it's probably grounded, because then it's like, it reminded her, like, what she gave up for this life. And so I feel like that made it easier for her to last, like, maybe not easier, maybe some, I don't know. It was like, she had that as, like, a physical symbol of, like, remembering her why. That's, like, why she wanted this life and to not give in to Luke.
Yeah, now that we're having actually having a conversation about the book, for those of you that don't know, we do talk about a lot of books, but we try not to talk about the books we read for the podcast until the podcast.
Yeah.
But now that we're, like, talking about it, there's a lot of different elements of connection, like, in this book.
Yeah.
Like, with him with his pocket watch, that's he has essentially counting down his life.
Yeah.
And then with the mugs on the wall, where it was like, it was profound for her because it was like their first night together. And he's like, pick a mug. And we have mugs. I think it was like his family tradition where it was, you choose a mug for the day and that's your mug, whatever speaks to you.
Yeah.
And it took her a moment to, like, actually choose one. And he's like, okay. And she went to go put it back because she saw another one. And he goes, no, all choices are final. You can pick another one for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And for him, it was such, like, so routine and, you know, it would just be for tomorrow. But for her, she's like, oh, I'm going to be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, he'll remember me. Like, I can choose another mug.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many little moments that are, like, woven throughout the story
that seem so
trivial.
Yeah, like, in that we would think of every day. Like you were saying earlier, too, like, you didn't really realize how much you rely on people remembering you. Because, like, obviously you think about that with, like, your close people, your friends, your family.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't think about, like, how much.
Strangers.
Yeah.
Like a 5-minute interaction.
Yeah. It's wild.
Were there moments where you felt frustrated with Addie's?
We're killing it today with the speech.
We'll have to start doing vocal warm-ups.
I don't know if that'll help. The brain fog.
where you felt frustrated with Addie's choices, or did you empathize with her completely? I think a little bit of both, but I also like we're not living it in the moment. We're like having a third person point of view where it's like that was a dumb.
Yeah.
You know, like we have the outside looking in versus her being in the moment, like feeling it versus
Yeah. So I think it's easy to say like some of her choices were dumb.
Yeah.
But like even as we've realized how much like her situation really would affect you, like, and we realized that much just talking about it. So I can't imagine like how different it actually is, because there's probably like a million other little things that we're not even
obviously in the book.
exactly.
She's not going to write 300 years worth of diary.
So I mean, I think I was like frustrated at the whole, like in the very beginning. Like I said, I thought she was kind of annoying.
She was also young,
but she was young, and I mean, if she did make the deal, which is the decision, I was like, wow, that was dumb. Kind of like, I mean, so if that didn't happen, then we wouldn't have had a book. You know what I mean?
Go figure. The catalyst didn't happen.
And that was her stupid choice. I didn't agree with. So, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like she did the best she could after she was like in the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
There
I couldn't definitively say, oh, I wouldn't have made the same choice.
Yeah.
Not being in the moment. Right. And just like that, book's over.
2 whole chapters.
How does Addie's relationship with art, music, and literature influence her life and her legacy?
We've talked about this at length.
Yeah. It was like her one thing for connection outside of Luke.
Yeah, and that's what she kept saying what her job was a talent agent.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Not only like music, art, and
That's true too.
yeah.
And she was really in it because like with the whole like art throughout the centuries, and then like the music with that guy who played guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think it showed up a lot.
Yeah,
too.
the museums, the galas,
Yeah.
her meeting Henry at a bookstore because she wanted to get the Odyssey in Greek. And she also learned a lot of different languages so she can experience art in its true form.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think she was a true lover of the arts.
Yeah. So I think that really helped.
It also formed her legacy with the book that Henry wrote about her, of her.
Yeah, that's true.
So, full circle moment. How do you think living a life where no one remembers you would change your priorities or relationship? Yeah, I honestly
too.
yeah, where'd the $20 go? Did I have this money? You're just gaslighting. I think in the time where it's easy to say nowadays, if this were to happen nowadays, a lot of stuff can be remote. You know, like you can create an email, you can meet somebody for like a fake ID, a fake, whatever, and you can get a job.
I was gonna say, I wonder if she could have a remote job if they like don't ever.
Yeah, and she can just be like, "Oh, I can't come. I'm sick for like a work event," but
Yeah,
whatever. That's what I mean. Like it would be easy now because there's so much. The internet is available and there's more accommodations for things.
Yeah. Things like virtually, essentially, without being known.
Exactly. Versus like in the 20s.
Yeah.
Where you can't.
She could have been a VTuber.
I would almost feel like you're a ghost, like somebody in the background.
Yeah.
Or if you don't want to have a conversation and start like arguing with you because you saw somebody like they saw you like pickpocket somebody.
Yeah.
And then you did, oh, look at that. Oh gosh, what's that? And then
they look back in the corner.
Yeah.
Oh.
Exactly. Why am I so upset?
Every day. Oh man. Did any of Luke's bargains or interactions with Addie surprise you? Why or
not necessarily surprise me, but I mean he has quite the personality.
Yeah, he's very overbearing.
Yes. Yeah, I think I told Gabby this. The darkness guy from The Guardians, the movie The Guardians.
Oh,
that's how I pictured him.
Yeah,
just kind of like
you did tell me. Suave.
He is.
Yeah.
Kind of like bowling with the shadows, and has like a domineering presence, but also like not necessarily like a quieter side, just,
Yeah.
waiting to like find the right moment to pounce. Uh, gave a lot of that.
Yeah, I don't think anything really surprised me. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
But it also was like,
it was a
you
little
just
bit
like,
toxic.
yeah.
It was like a toxic
But if
frenemy.
he could have like
enemy.
got over his ego though, then like,
I also think that he really I think he genuinely like likes her,
yeah.
or I don't know, because I can't imagine being like an immortal, because he lived way longer than years, so he sees like even 300 years as insignificant.
Well,
So-
and as a quote unquote villain, basically.
Yeah. So I could see how he finds her intriguing,
Yeah.
because he's like, oh, I didn't think she would last 300 years, maybe 50 tops.
Yeah.
And
Here we are.
here we are. Even all of like the extra stuff, like not seeing her on their annual whatever he's doing. So I don't know. And I think she also mentioned something along the lines of like she obviously made that second deal with him, and she made it a point to essentially prove to him that he only likes her now because he finds her intriguing, but after some time he's not gonna want her anymore. And he's like, so essentially she's like she's like pitting her freedom against him, like his timeline of like getting annoyed by her. So she's like, I'll stay with you as long as you want me. And she's like, you're not gonna want me for long because you've been chasing me for 300 years. And he's thinking, oh, I finally have you, I'm not gonna let you go.
Yeah.
So now it's like, who's gonna win? Yeah. So I think it's the same type of game, but with different rules or different stakes.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see in another 300 years. Which scenes in Addie's life felt most enchanting or surreal? Why did they stand out to you? The one that came to my mind the most is whenever she said she made a friend with like some high executive in the art world, and he like fell in love with her and said that she can use whatever she wants when like she can come and go as she pleases.
Yeah.
Obviously, he forgot about her, but she like took that to heart. Like she walked in, then she's like, "I'm here to visit so and so," and they're like, "They're not expecting you. They're not here." And so she just kept walking, and then they didn't see her, so they forgot.
Yeah.
And so she went into it was like a penthouse. It was like a beautiful, like multi-million-dollar penthouse in I don't know, New York or something.
Yeah.
So I found that enchanting and like surreal because she can just do that. I mean, she obviously had the invitation and like they forgot about it, but she like took a bath. She like hung out in the living room. She could have like a very fancy snack plate or dinner with her. I was like, man, that sounds like it doesn't sound like a bad night.
True.
So I found that enchanting. I also found it enchanting where she was like in Paris or Italy, and she was going to like those museums and was able to like speak to the up and coming artists and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's what I think, because she had so much opportunity to like be really into that world. So
she was like free to do whatever she wanted because she had no anchors. Sad, but also you got to experience
a different side of like your life that you wouldn't be able to. How does the novel explore the idea of freedom versus consequences, and which characters embody this struggle?
I think Addie has more freedom, and I think Henry has more consequences. I don't know if consequences is the right word for Henry, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. It's like she's able to do whatever she essentially wants with no consequences because
So she has freedom with no consequence, but her consequence is that she has freedom, basically, because...
Right. And then Henry, I feel like, has more consequence because he isn't able to, like, trust any of the relationships around. Maybe except for, like, that lesbian couple because they weren't interested.
Yeah, but I think even still on that level, like, with him being everything people needed or whatever, that, like, you would have to be questioning, too, even if your friendships are real.
Right. Does the no one remember you also have to do with animals? Do animals not remember?
I don't know.
That'd be upset about.
You
You too, I guess.
I guess you.
These questions are too deep.
Yeah.
I
I mean, yeah, it really makes you think about what is actually freedom and what is actually a consequence.
mean, if you think really hard, anything is a consequence.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She thought she was gaining freedom, but
And she has Luke. What a prize. If you could ask Addie one question about her life or choices, what would it be and why?
I don't feel like, because I feel like I could understand choices. It doesn't make me like.
I think I was leaning more towards like her experiences because and like the art around it. So I think my question would be during your time of experiencing and living art being like these iconic art pieces being created, what is your favorite form of art and why? Maybe. I guess that's two questions. You know, like she talked about going to the movies, like that experience and seeing like a black and white movie for the first time, and then seeing
Probably.
and the music, and then the different kinds of, and if it's like books, and she purposely learned other languages, so like is the obviously what differs from the English version versus the Greek version of the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Because she intended to like she wanted it in its purest form.
Yeah. I would probably ask her to do books. Like, I read a lot of books. 300 years.
And a lot of versions of the same book. So what version? Yeah, what's your favorite book?
Yeah.
Interesting.
How does the story challenge traditional notions of time, memory, and legacy?
Let's just skip that 20. Because we're like repeating ourselves.
What did you think about the ending? Was it satisfying?
I found it on theme of her character. Because she's like betting on herself. You know, the whole book she's like betting on herself.
Yeah.
And I like that in the end it started with Luke and it ended with Luke.
Yeah.
And it started with her betting on herself and it ended with her betting on herself.
Yeah.
So I found it satisfying. I also found it like
She's very committed to things.
she's like, I've learned a lot, but in the end, I'm
Yeah.
I like that in the end it started as a game and it's ending as a game.
Yeah. Okay. That is a question. Would you recommend this book to others?
Yes, I would. I think it's a really great, like if people aren't really fantasy readers, I think this is really good like intro because it's not all fantasy, but it gives you like kind of a magical, like modern twist of a fantasy to it.
Yeah.
So I think it'll kind of like open up and it's a good transition.
Yeah.
In between a contemporary and a curse, you know?
Yeah. I think so. I would also I would recommend it to people. I was going to say that.
What do you think about the writing style?
I liked it. I think again, kind of going back to what we had said about like the timeline situation and like going back to different periods and stuff like that. I liked that because I felt like it was good pacing, but then gave us a lot of good information, so like more insight as to like why she was doing the things she was doing, and like how she adapted over time, and all the changes that were made over 200 years.
Yeah, I think it gave a lot of context to a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
Because you go into like she hates this person, or like what's the whole story there?
Yeah.
It slowly gives it to you.
Yeah.
I really liked the writing style. Like as we were talking about it, started identifying and seeing where the author put a lot of, I don't know if this is writing style, but put a lot of what she was trying to convey into the story in little moments throughout the story. It wasn't just like this
Huge
big profound
plot
plot point. It's
Yeah.
like a little bit of a sprinkle here and there. So it's like consistently this is the story.
Yeah.
I really like that. I think sometimes that is missed in a lot of books.
Yeah.
Whenever they're just trying to get to all of these like
Big ideas.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
You
You
don't-
if you like see it a little deeper, then it's like all these tiny little nuances or things that like we wouldn't think about if we are forgotten by everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like the human experience as well.
Yeah. Engagement.
I was really engaged on this book. I finished it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It was I mean I still read it. It took me about 3 to 4 days to read it. It was nice. I was engaged. I was always like, what's going on with Henry? Why is he so upset about watching a movie that she's already watched?
Yeah.
Chill out. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Overall, I gave it a 4.
I am at 3.5. Yeah. I liked it. I did, but I don't know. I think I wanted like more.
More what?
More. Maybe more of like the magic side of it, the less of a mundane, I guess. I don't know. I probably would have liked to learn more. Maybe this is something to be said about me, but I probably would have liked to have gone deeper into like Luke and stuff like that.
I agree with you there because he has lived so long and he's had all these experiences and like what made him. We can only gather based off of Addie's perception of him, like
Right.
why he's intrigued by her, and we can understand that.
Mhm.
But like, I think if she were to do another book, like a part 2, like a duology,
Yeah.
of the second part of it,
Yeah.
I think it should focus on shift perspective from her to Luke.
Yeah. I think that would be good.
So I think it would be a really good
Yeah.
duology.
So I think that's why I was like, it definitely was better than average, but
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I'd quite go 4 with it. So
Mhm.
because I just kind of like wanted to blow it. It was good.
That's that book. That's a wrap on The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Next week, it's Popular Pick Week, and we're blasting off with Project Hail Mary. Yes, a thrilling ride through space, science, and survival. Buckle up, it's going to be out of this world.